I spent 5 years fighting side by side with Liam. He said he wanted to put his career first, so I never asked for public acknowledgement or a title. At the New Year team building at a rooftop restaurant in downtown Los Angeles, the new secretary had prepared a flirty party game. Pick someone of the opposite sex and cover them with post-it notes. The drawer is blindfolded and must remove every sticker, using only their mouth. She gave Liam an inviting little bow. Of course, if Liam already has a girlfriend. Liam glanced at me. In front of everyone, he didn't refuse. She pressed herself to almost every inch of him, peeling the notes from collarbone to ankle. Then, amid the hooting crowd, she shot me a smile of triumph. When Liam's turn came, he drew. Take a mouthful of wine and feed it to any woman here. This time, before he could hesitate, I spoke up first. I'm under the weather. No alcohol for me. Have fun, everyone. Liam's budding awkwardness melted the instant he heard me. Actually, I'd known for a while that he liked Stella. Ever since she joined the company last year, Liam had been leaving earlier and coming home later. 2 months ago, he wined and dined some investors. That night he staggered back dead drunk to our Beverly Hills penthouse. He hadn't touched me in a year, yet he pinned me to the bed, while his body moved over mine. He murmured Stella's name. That was when I knew the 5-year devotion needed a full stop. The memory stung my eyes red. Liam leaned to my ear and whispered, "You're sick. Why didn't you tell me? I'll take you home early. Right now the team's pumped. Don't spoil it." He patted my hand as if to soothe me, using concern to mask his own unease. Then he tilted his head, took a gulp of wine, walked to Stella, and kissed her on the lips. His throat worked. He showed no sign of stopping until Stella, flushed, pushed him away amid the cheers. Only then did he step aside, but his gaze stayed glued to her, syrupy and unwilling to break. I clenched my fists under the table. The game went on. When the next colleague drew his lot, he chose me as partner. At the sound of my name, Liam finally jolted awake. He moved between us in 2 strides. "Since Ivy isn't feeling well, she should sit this out." Seeing the colleague still waiting for my answer, I nodded. Stella piped up from the side. "If Ivy's uncomfortable, she can head home. We'll be late. No need to ruin her rest." I looked at Liam. He didn't ask me to stay, as though the man who'd promised to drive me home minutes earlier had been someone else. I picked up my purse, said goodbye to the table, and took a cab back from the restaurant. Thinking of how Liam had treated me these past 2 years, everything blurred in front of my eyes. Maybe we should have broken up long ago. I just couldn't accept it and dragged it out. Until that night 2 months ago, I rested a hand on my belly. I'd actually planned to divorce him after that evening. My lawyer had already been hired. The assets were being tallied. But a few days ago I'd felt unwell. A visit to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center told me I was pregnant. My mind tangled into a knot. I didn't know whether to keep the baby or whether to tell Liam at all. Back home I deliberated again and finally laid the positive test on his desk. Over the years I'd made so many decisions to help him, falling out with dad and mom, pledging everything I owned to bankroll his startup. Now it was his turn to decide. That night I sat in the living room waiting for Liam until 1 a.m. He never came home. Next morning the sound of the door woke me. I stepped out to find Liam warming the takeout breakfast he'd brought. Seeing me, he grinned. "Did I wake you? I brought breakfast. Everyone says this place is great. Try it and see if you like it." He hadn't been this thoughtful in ages. For 2 years, we'd rarely eaten together, stealth at the office. Plus his late-night client dinners meant we might manage one shared meal a month. Liam kept fussing, feeling better. "I took the morning off. I'll drive you to the hospital later." He moved closer to study my face. A heavy wave of women's perfume rolled off him and hit my stomach like a fist. I clapped a hand over my mouth and gagged. I couldn't hold it. I ran to the bathroom and heaved sour water until my stomach cramped and tears streamed. Only then did the retching ease. Liam stayed beside me, patting my back. "That bad? Definitely needs Cedars-Sinai." I couldn't speak. When I looked up, the red scrape peeking from his lowered collarbone stabbed me worse than the ache in my gut. I waved him off and forced out a sentence. "Stay away. I hate that smell." Liam froze. He sniffed his shirt and apologized. "Sorry, I didn't notice. Go eat. I'll shower and then take you." "No need." I leaned on the wall and shuffled to the dining table. I lifted a soup dumpling into my mouth. The savory broth bloomed, pacifying my empty, aching stomach. Water drummed in the bathroom. My gaze drifted and landed on the takeout bag poking from the trash. Hampton in downtown LA apathetic. What I'd taken as tender concern was just continental breakfast he'd grabbed on his way out to pacify me. Turned out I've always been that easy to fool. A chill crawled through my chest. I picked up my iPhone and texted the lawyer I'd contacted before. keep drafting the divorce agreement. The message had just sent when Liam's ringtone blared. The shower cut off at once. I was still walking to the coffee table when his screen lit up. Stella, just as he yanked the door open. I've got it. Panic flickered across his face. He forced calm and avoided my eyes. Phone in hand. He moved far enough to be sure I couldn't hear. Then answered. Whatever the other side said tightened his whole face. Right now. Okay, I'm on my way. He pulled on clothes while explaining. Emergency at the office. I have to run. Sorry, I can't take you to Cedars-Sinai. The apology sounded like box ticking. A second later my WhatsApp pinged with Stella's text. Can you grab me more antacid? Heading to Cedars-Sinai? I've already booked an appointment. Barely 3 seconds had passed since I caught a glimpse of what she'd sent. Then the message was recalled. The next thing that popped up was Stella's apology. Sorry, Liam, I meant to send that to you, but I hit the wrong chat. I knew full well it was one of Stella's little tricks. Yet my chest still flooded with sourness. Liam was already dressed, keys in hand, ready to walk out. I squeezed my eyes shut, determined to try one last time. Can't whatever's over there wait one more day? His footsteps stopped. He turned, brows knitted tight. Ivy, I've already explained. You never used to be this hesitant. You always kept business and personal separate. I stared straight at him. And you used to do the same. My matters were private, so they could be postponed again and again. Stella's matters were also private, yet he used company time for her, putting her first. In the end, between her and me, he had chosen her. We stood in frozen silence for a long while. I walked to the study, walked inside, and handed him the file that held my pregnancy lab results along with the financial statements. I pulled together a few reports. You might as well take them with you. Around noon, I reached the office in downtown Los Angeles. Liam wasn't in. Neither was Stella. Passing the break room, I overheard several employees eating and chatting. Did you hear? Liam and Secretary Stella left together last night. They both called in sick this morning. Won't be long before Secretary Stella becomes Mrs. Sterling. You bailed after round 1 last night. You missed how hot that kiss was. TSK. Y'all don't know. Once I saw her resume by accident. With her education, she never fit the hiring bar for a secretary. My heart clenched so hard it hurt. Got so much free time you're gossiping about your bosses on my payroll? Liam had appeared behind me without my noticing. Voice low, face dark. He held a takeout box. Smiling apologetically, he offered it to me. Ivy, I was a jerk this morning. How about I drive you to Cedars-Sinai again this afternoon? You're sick. Just take the day off. Your health matters. I glanced at the lunchbox and, for no reason, thought of the breakfast he tossed my way this morning. Taking it, I strode to Stella's desk. Sure enough, an identical container sat there. With a cold laugh, I slapped the box down in front of her. Enjoying someone else's meal. If you like it, stuff yourself. Stella shrank back like a frightened bunny. Ivy, what did I do wrong? Realizing what had happened, her eyes reddened instantly. That pitiful look immediately tugged at Liam's protective instinct. His temper finally flared. His tone flipped. Ivy, what exactly are you trying to pull? If you're angry, unleash it on me. She never provoked you. In 5 years together, he had almost never yelled at me. Even after our love had cooled these past 2, we still spoke calmly. I'd always thought of him as steady. The last time I saw him lose it was back when we were dating. A scooter had whizzed past me on the sidewalk. He yanked me into his arms and cursed after the rider. Now he still exploded, only the one he protected had changed. Deflated. I couldn't even find the strength to argue whether he'd glimpsed my prenatal lab results and pretended not to, or he'd been so busy with Stella he hadn't looked at all. The truth was the same, he didn't care. Nearly every colleague had gathered, drawn by our shouting. The man who'd spent 5 years claiming career came first, who'd banned office romance for fear people would gossip. Now, under every watching eye, grabbed Stella's hand. Your stomach hurts. Let me drive you home. He handed the woman I'd waited 5 years to acknowledge the very public declaration I'd longed for. All those fights I'd picked to make him admit our relationship suddenly felt like coercion. He had never been willing. Downstairs, Liam shielded Stella as he helped her into his car, sometimes blurred, sometimes sharp in my vision. We lived under the same roof in Beverly Hills, worked in the same tower in downtown LA. Yet to keep people from suspecting, he rarely let me ride with him. As the car vanished from sight, I finally understood. When you truly love someone, everything you do carries the imprint of that love. No instruction needed. That night Liam didn't come home again. Next morning, when I went to his car to fetch some files, I found a woman's lingerie lying on the back seat. I swallowed the urge to confront him. Better to avoid the extra trouble. Divorce was inevitable anyway. At noon his text arrived. Sorry about yesterday. Come to the stairwell. I've prepared a gift to apologize. I almost ignored it, then decided there was no better day to say the D word. When I stepped into the stairwell, I didn't see Liam, only Stella. She bolted the door the moment I entered, then planted herself in front of it. Alarm bells rang in my head. Why you? What do you want? want? Stella curved her lips, leaned to my ear. Ivy, Liam stayed at my place all night. My lower back's so sore I can barely stand. You don't need to be this scared. Though suspicion had already lodged in my heart, hearing Stella state it outright still gave a jolt. Before I could recover, she shot out both hands and shoved me hard. I lost balance and tumbled down the stairs. The sky hadn't stopped spinning when I heard her quavering voice send Liam a voice memo. Liam, I'm in the stairwell. Ivy said she wanted to talk, then shoved me down the steps. I twisted my ankle. Can you come help? Barely 2 minutes later, with my ears still ringing, Liam burst through the door, seeing me on the floor and Stella huddled nearby, shaking and sobbing. He didn't ask what happened. He simply swore at me. Ivy, have you lost your damn mind? What the hell did Stella ever do to you? Why are you always after her? Cramps ripped through my abdomen. Winter or not, cold sweat drenched me from the pain. I had no strength to argue, fumbling forever. I finally found my iPhone, only to discover it had smashed during the fall and wouldn't turn on. Left with no choice, I pinned my last hope of rescue on Liam. After he found Stella and me, he stayed crouched beside her the whole time. He helped rotate her ankle, assessing the injury. He asked her exactly how it had happened. He never once looked me in the eye, and it never crossed his mind to ask what I had to say. I reached out and caught the hem of his jacket where it brushed the floor. Help me. If he had turned around right then, he probably would have seen how pale I was. But he didn't. He ignored my plea. Instead, he lifted Stella into his arms and murmured soft comforts. The tone felt familiar. I was sure I'd heard it somewhere before. While the thought was still forming, the world went black and I fainted. When I came to, I was lying in a hospital bed at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. I asked the nurse whether the baby had survived. She shook her head in silence. Just as well, fate, I suppose. A child who had only a mother and no father rarely had an easy life. This spared me the torment of deciding whether to keep it, and I no longer had to worry the child might coax Liam back. I had already resolved to divorce him. The last thing I wanted was him clinging to me again. I drew several slow breaths to steady myself. I borrowed the nurse's phone and called Lee, the project lead I'd been working with most recently. Uncle Lee, I'm leaving Liam's company and taking my shares with me. If that's the case, do you still want to keep working with Liam's company? Lee understood my implication at once. Without a second's hesitation, he answered, then forget it. I'll call off the partnership tomorrow. I'm in this for you, Ivy, whatever firm you join. The contract follows. I agreed quietly and ended the call without further small talk. One after another I rang the other investors who were currently on our books. Every one of them echoed Lee's decision. They were all old friends of Eastbrook Group, men who owed Dad favors large or small. I knew very well that when they'd thrown startup contracts our way back then, it wasn't for me, it was for Dad. All these years I'd driven myself, propping Liam up, because I had something to prove. First, I wanted those uncles to see that I had genuine competence. Second, I hoped to parlay that track record into clients we could call our own. Reality had shown me Liam was no dark horse. His competence didn't come close. Even though he was out at client dinners every night, stable business that was truly ours still accounted for less than 30%. He, however, was easy to please. The current state of the company was good enough for him. Of course, he had no idea the other 70% of steady, high-value contracts came through me. It wasn't that I'd meant to hide it. I'd simply wanted to spare his pride. Now that we were divorcing, what belonged to me would leave with me. A cramp rolled through my abdomen and my legs went weak. It was clear Liam wasn't going to be any help. After a long hesitation, I finally called Mom. Less than an hour later, she burst through the door. To my surprise, Dad was right behind her. In the end, no family feud survives the night. Dad, too proud to admit he still cared, had declared he was washing his hands of me. Yet he'd never stopped pulling strings. Without those connections, who would have touched an inexperienced shop like ours? My nose stung at the thought. All those years I'd kept my distance. After everything, including a brief taste of motherhood, those old quarrels with Dad suddenly felt trivial. I apologized to him in a low voice. He gave a snort and stepped out. Mom squeezed my hand. Don't blame your father. He worries. The moment he heard you were sick, he insisted on coming. A few minutes later, Dad returned, arms full of receipts. I've settled the bill. Your mother will stay the next few days. Always bragging about how well you're doing on your own. Look at you now. A man of few words. He suddenly couldn't stop talking, eyes reddening. I knew I'd been forgiven. The words no longer stung. I only answered softly. When Liam walked into our Beverly Hills penthouse, every light was off. That struck him as odd. No matter how late he came home, Ivy always left a lamp burning, and she never stayed out all night. Today was different. He remembered how white her face had looked in the stairwell at noon. A bad feeling began to gnaw at him. When he'd carried Stella out of the stairwell, he thought he'd glimpsed blood beneath Ivy, but he hadn't looked closely. Hadn't wanted to think about it then, he'd been too angry. Focused only on getting Stella checked out. The more he thought, the more details surfaced. He hadn't seen Ivy once all afternoon. He'd assumed she was sulking. Yet Ivy never let a lover's quarrel interfere with business. Even during their worst fights, she still exchanged whatever work messages were necessary. After a moment's indecision, he dialed her iPhone. Powered off. His stomach lurched. He was about to ask a colleague if anyone knew where she was when Lee's call came through. By the time he hung up, any trace of fatigue had vanished. Lee's sudden withdrawal meant the next tranche of funding had vanished too. The 2 deals Liam had been banking on were dead in the water. No matter how he begged or pressed for an explanation, Lee would only say he'd found a better partner. His tone left no room for appeal. Lee's project had always been Ivy's domain, whether from a business standpoint or a personal one. Liam had to find her. He was shrugging on his coat when he opened the door and found Stella standing there, giving him an innocent smile. Liam, my ankle, living alone is impossible right now. Could I stay here for a couple of days? Liam had no patience for her when his livelihood was at stake. Suit yourself. But I'm heading out. You'll still be on your own tonight. Before she could answer, he was gone. When he reached Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, I was happily devouring the dishes Mom had cooked. Shredded pork with bamboo shoots, sweet and sour ribs, blanched choy sum, and golden chicken soup. Seeing me so content infuriated him. Ivy, do you even know I've been searching half the night? Yet here you are, living it up, indifferent to my worry and the chaos back at the company. I gave him a cool glance. It's not as catastrophic as you're making it sound. He was practically tearing his hair out. Lee, Davis, Taylor, every investor has been calling to pull their contracts. You know what that does to the company, don't you? I took a long sip of chicken soup. Unhurried. So what? Those are your projects. You owe me an explanation. You can't take every client with you just because you're mad at me. Mom stepped between us. Brows knitted. Ivy, when you graduated, I introduced you to Chase, remember? I thought for a moment, then nodded. Chase Sawyer, 2 years younger. The kid who used to tag along like my shadow. We were childhood sweethearts. Then he left for high school in New York and we lost touch. By the time he came back to Los Angeles, I was already with Liam, so we never reconnected. Mom bringing it up now, whether she genuinely wanted me to try again or just wanted to shut Liam up, was fine with me. I was done with Liam anyway. No point dragging things out. Sure, set it up. I'll meet him. Seeing us switch to small talk about finding a new man. No less. Liam's face darkened further. Ivy, what exactly are you trying to pull? I met his gaze. The ice in my eyes draining the bluster from his. Forgot to mention, I'm divorcing you. My life is no longer your business. And I'm taking back everything that's mine. Liam's eyes widened. Divorce? Where is this coming from? Just because I snapped at you at lunch? Before he could finish, Mom lost it. Finger jabbing at his nose. Shut your mouth. I stayed quiet out of respect. But you've got no shame. Those clients followed Ivy. She's entitled to take them when she leaves. Just because. Ivy was pushed down the stairs and miscarried. Small detail. When she begged you to help. Where were you? When she needed care. What were you doing? The barrage left Liam speechless. He needed a full 5 minutes to process Ivy's clients. Pushed. Miscarriage. He hadn't known. He looked at me, stunned. Why didn't you tell me? I gave a cold laugh. I handed you the prenatal lab results with the financial statements. You checked the numbers, signed off, yet never said a word about me being pregnant. I really didn't see any lab results. Fine, say you didn't. When Stella and I fell, you only cared about her side of the story. Fact, right? Liam had nothing. I finished every bite on the tray. I'm going to rest. Don't bother me again. Once I get a new iPhone, I'll WhatsApp you the divorce papers. Mom wheeled him out and shut the hospital room door behind him. His mind was chaos the whole ride home. Only after a long think did the pieces click. The clients were Ivy's. He had to win her back. She said the lab slip was in the file. Only he and Stella had touched it. No third person. If he could sort out what happened and make Stella apologize, maybe there was hope. He knew Ivy, soften her up and she'd relent. With that plan he walked into the penthouse. At the sound of the door Stella sprinted over barefoot, delighted, ready to fling herself at him. But Liam didn't open his arms. He blocked her, face like stone. Did you take Ivy's prenatal lab slip? Stella tried to bluff. What slip? I never saw it. Stella. The company could collapse over this. It was rare for him to glare at her. Reading the room, she realized denial was useless. Tell me first, How does this affect the company? He gave her the short version. Go apologize to her. For me, okay? Stella knew if the company tanked, she'd sink with it. She loved Liam, yes, but not a penniless version. She also knew his patience hinged on her usefulness. Once Ivy took him back, he'd dump her to avoid a repeat. After weighing it, she promised, I'm not apologizing. Loving you isn't a crime. I was afraid if you knew she was pregnant you'd stay married. I'll fight for those projects. I'll prove I can match anything Ivy can do. She draped her arms around his neck, slid onto his lap, tried to kiss him. He turned his head away, frowning. You'd better deliver. Then, ignoring her twisted ankle, he shoved her off his knee. 3 days later at noon, Chase showed up at Cedars-Sinai carrying lunch. Years had passed. He already carried the poise of a man, refined and steady. Yet the moment he saw me he flashed the same boyish grin. Ivy, long time. I pushed myself up, smiling back. Sorry you're seeing me like this. How'd you know I was here? He arranged the dishes for me. I figured you'd need looking after. Give your parents a break. We were chatting when Liam walked in. Seeing Chase, his worry flipped to fury. Ivy, we fight for 2 days, and you've already replaced me? Who is he? I sighed. I told you, divorce papers sent. None of your business anymore. You still think I'm joking? Noting my glare, Chase stepped between us. Chase Sawyer, CEO of Sawyer Group. Pleasure. Liam. Liam froze. Sawyer Group's deep pockets were legendary. He couldn't afford the fight. He shot Chase a bitter look and left. He turned to me again, eyes pleading. Even if you're set on divorcing me, for the sake of what we once were, could you save the company one last time? These past 2 days, I'd caught a few whispers. They said Stella, desperate to prove to Liam that she could be his right hand, had invited several CEOs to dinner to pitch new projects. Almost all of them refused. When she couldn't even get a meeting, she camped out in their lobbies. After security tossed her out countless times, a rumor reached the ears of one investor. He contacted Stella and offered cash to keep the company afloat. It looked like a lifeline. In her rush, she dropped her guard, met him for drinks. She woke up drugged, in his bed. What was worse, she didn't call the cops. She decided to roll with it and stay with the man. Simple reason, he had money, and it didn't look as if Liam's future would steady anytime soon. With the company about to collapse from the cash drought, Liam had nowhere left to turn but me. Ivy, I pulled the security footage from the stairwell that day. Stella caused your fall. If you say the word, I'll call the cops. Hand over the evidence, testify, and put her in jail. I'll do anything you ask. Okay? His knees buckled. He knelt. I didn't even glance at him. Even now you want to use my injury as an excuse to vent your own anger? Liam, we married because I wanted to be with you. I got the company running because I wanted to back you. All of it existed only because I wanted it to. The moment I don't, nothing remains between us. My mind is made up. Stop wasting your energy. Chase lifted a hand. Please see yourself out. When Liam stayed planted, Chase shouldered him through the door, snapped the deadbolt, then came back to pour me water and pass tissues. Talk with me. Sit while I ate. Ivy, Mom's told you my thoughts, right? A mouthful of rice lodged in my throat. I looked up. You're serious? I've been married. Was almost a mother. None of that bothers you? Chase met my gaze. Utterly steady. I've liked you for years. None of that matters. What about your parents? They'll support whatever I want. I swallowed a sip of soup. Chase, I need to be clear. His face tensed. You're not about to say you feel nothing, are you? Can't we just try? Feelings grow. I shook my head. Honestly, I don't know. I just clawed my way out of a marriage. I'm not sure I'm ready to jump into another. You might wait a long time, maybe a year or two, and still end up empty-handed. The kid acted as if he hadn't heard the doubts. His eyes shone bright with sudden hope. So I still have a chance? I gave a wry smile. Yes, a chance. That's enough. He cut me off before I could finish. I'll wait until you're ready to let someone in again. He was still the boy who used to trail after me, yet different now, more capable, handling business and looking after me with ease. Liam kept coming for half a month, flowers one day, a fruit basket the next, behaving like the attentive boyfriend I remembered from years ago. Chase visited every single day and blocked him at the gate. Then, one morning, the visits stopped. A signed divorce agreement arrived by courier, followed by a text. The company's filing for bankruptcy. The debts won't touch you. I was blind. I once promised I'd never let you suffer. I broke that promise. Had he not mentioned it, I'd already forgotten the promise. If he'd wanted, he could have asked me to share the losses. The money meant little to either my family or the Sawyers. But for him, alone and without backing, the coming years would be brutal. At least this once he'd done something considerate. On discharge day, Chase picked me up and ordered a feast of every dish I loved. At the table I whispered, "How do you know my tastes?" He slipped a bite onto my plate. "I asked your parents, Give them a break. We were chatting when Liam walked in, seeing Chase. His worry flipped to fury. Ivy, we fight for 2 days, and you've already replaced me? Who is he? I sighed. I told you, divorce papers sent. None of your business anymore. You still think I'm joking? Noting my glare, Chase stepped between us. Chase Sawyer, CEO of Sawyer Group. Pleasure. Liam froze. Sawyer Group's deep pockets were legendary. He couldn't afford the fight. He shot Chase a bitter look and left. Nestled against Chase that night, I slipped back into a dream. In a wedding gown, Chase and I stood at the altar in a vineyard outside Los Angeles, sliding rings onto each other's fingers, kissing while cheers exploded around us. Thanks for listening. If you liked the story, hit like and share with friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales. See you next time.